Alrighty, here we go. My name is Travis Neville. This is the Travis Neville Podcast. I wrote this book called The Jossman Method. Also just about to publish Reviving Masculinity, still waiting on it forward. But I will let you know when that sucker comes out. I'll certainly tell you about it. I've been starting to release clips of it, now that it's kind of locked down, how the wording's going to be. Releasing just little sections here and there on the socials. I was doing bigger sections earlier as I was writing it, but a lot of that stuff has changed. So now it's, locked down. So I'm letting out little sections as we go. But that's where we are with that. Our goal here is always to, I empower masculinity in men so that they can build kingdoms. And speaking of that, I like to try to demonstrate that as well. Rather than just talk about it, I like to be about it. And the next step in building my kingdom is this. Other than my house, I'm debt free, but I'd like to remedy that situation as well. So I was out of town for the last week looking at property, and my intention is very much is to get something that costs so little that I can pay cash for it, and then build it up and make it something great, a place where I can live and be functional, and then not have that debt either. So I'd like to be in a situation where, you're always going to have an internet bill, a phone bill, probably natural gas. I travel a lot, so I can't, heating with wood all the time is not ideal, because you can't just load the fire up and have it last for a week. Like, you can't do that. So you need natural gas. Anyway, I'm looking into all these different ways where I can make it so that I don't have really any bills anymore. I'd like to get to where I can, I just think that's going to add a lot of freedom. Well, Joe Rogan will talk about, and I know he's in a jam here, and we'll talk about it in a second, but he talks about, go ahead and go buy that expensive car that you can't afford, because it'll motivate you to make more money. And I think that there's a time for that. I think that's definitely, that's not unwise logic. I like that idea. I think it served me well. I did shit in my 20s and 30s where I'd buy a thing that I couldn't afford, and I had to bust my ass to make it happen. And but now I have all the things. I have all the things. Things don't drive me anymore. What drives me is freedom. I want to be able to go and do anytime, any place, whatever. I want to have the things that you need to be productive. You need a home. You can't get around that. It's, I post stuff about my cabin all the time, but it's just not a full-time place to live. Especially now in the winter, it's a lot of work to be up there. The water system is the biggest issue. Yeah, you got to constantly be feeding wood in the fireplace, but it's not going to freeze as long as you're filling it twice a day. Because it's insulated and it's pretty well sealed. All the windows are good, all that stuff. But some of the water lines and stuff, like my water heater quit sometime between the last time I was there and when I was up this time. Pain in the ass. It's way back. The snow's real deep. You need a full-time plow truck basically to make it so that you can come and go. And it's just not set up for that. It's meant for you to get in and hang out there for a while and then head home. So I have to have a house, and I've got the skills to basically build whatever I want, fix whatever I want, remodel whatever I want. And so that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a complete shithole that I can make nice. So that's how I'm building my kingdom. That's the next step. I want to be standing on that, in that situation. Hey, I've got this home that I've fixed up that has zero payment. And then everything I own is paid for at that point. It's just going to allow me to be more flexible and more able to do whatever I want to do. Not that my mortgage has really tied me down, but anyway, that's how you define what you want your kingdom to be. And that's what I want my kingdom to be. I want to be debtless and able to maintain indefinitely. That should be no problem. So that's what's coming next. It might take a year or two, depending on the situation I end up in, but I'm excited about that. That's what we're trying to do here. Help people build kingdoms, and I'll demonstrate that whenever I can. I'm trying to move this endeavor along. I got on Apple Podcasts finally, which was pretty cool because it's the biggest podcast site there is. So being on there is huge. People still need to know to look for you, I suppose. I don't know how if they have an algorithm that puts my stuff in front of people that have never heard of me. I don't know if that's how it works or not, but you got to get it out there. And to be on that platform is great. Now that's all of them. You can get this show any damn where. You can be listening to me anywhere in the world on any podcast app. Several different places you can watch me on video. YouTube still, which is I think probably the crappiest medium. I mean, I'm only on there because it was the first one I learned how to do. Vimeo is a better option for video. So is Rumble. I'm on Rumble as well. Anyway, those are the places you can see the show. Anyway, there's kind of some updates. What I want to talk about today is raising yourself, which is I know that seems like an unusual concept, but it comes to light for me maybe more exaggeratedly because of my lifestyle. I'm a single guy. I don't have a boss. I don't have a wife. I don't have really anyone kind of telling me, I guess, bounce ideas off of with regard to my daily habits, right? Like there's nobody here who's going to, push back on anything I'm doing or saying. There's nobody here who's going to be that full-time presence who can give you that support that you sometimes need. And as men, I mean, I've made this very clear that when you find yourself in a position where you have a thing that you need to deal with, something emotional, or something that's going on behaviorally, which is usually related to some kind of emotion. I've said this. The Brene Brown idea that men need to be vulnerable all the time is complete bullshit. This is how that shakes out. You are feeling vulnerable, you need to talk it through, and you go to your partner. And she is going to, at her core level, whether she tells you she does or not, she's going to see that as weakness. And that's not what, from a core level, she's going to want from you. Now, occasionally, I mean, somebody dies. Something massive like that. I mean, yeah, you're going to be emotional, you're going to be vulnerable, you're going to be pretty weak there sometimes. But in general, yeah, you can't just be spewing out all your weaknesses, your vulnerabilities. It's a bad policy for a man. So you have to, in a lot of ways, learn how to, what I call, raise yourself. You got to learn how to raise yourself. And this idea I got from I was with a friend, and we were talking to one of her friends who was talking about this idea that she was going through this psychological process with her counselor about re-raising herself. And essentially it went like this. She would verbalize a childhood trauma, and then the next step would be to verbalize how she would have addressed herself as an adult now, looking back at the child version of her and going, hey, you know what? This was a bad situation, but it wasn't your fault. Everything's going to be okay. Whatever it was, whatever she chose in that situation. I liked the logic of that, and I extrapolated that out way past traumas, because I think it's way more daily use valuable than that. And the way it works is this. You're going to make mistakes. You make them all day. I mean, I talk about that all the time. I mean, I sure make them. Shit. Like, I'll tell you, I put an offer on this house this weekend, and the way it went down was this. I'm sitting with my realtor. We're in my car, and we call the seller's realtor, and we're having this conversation with this woman, and she says, yep, X amount. If you offer X amount, you'll get it. That's the number you need to be at, and you'll get it. And I'm like, all right, that's what we're offering. So she my realtor writes up the offer. We put it in. We find out a couple hours later, nope, they took a different offer. And I mean, it was a cash offer, right? I mean, it wasn't like, what else is there? Hey, I've got the money. Here's what I'll give you for it. And I don't like the outcome of that. I learned a few things out of it. Number one, you can't trust really anyone. I don't know this lady, and my realtor didn't know her either. She made it too easy. She made it a layup, which I should have known not to trust it. It was too good to be true. Now, that situation was because it's in a tiny, small town, and for all I know, she put in an offer at 41, and she wanted it herself, or one of her friends did, or the fact that I was moving in from the city, they didn't like that. I mean, who knows what the situation was, but I didn't get it, and so I could easily beat myself up about that, right? I could easily be, Travis, you should have known not to trust anybody. You should have gone with a higher dollar amount. That's what you should have done. Now, had I done that and gotten it, I would have been like, well, maybe I should have just done the smaller amount, and I would have saved some money. But anyway, I could beat myself up about that. I'm not going to. Instead, I'm going to raise myself for it. So we'll call that a mistake, right? I put in the wrong offer. I didn't use the information I had at hand, which is, previous experience, which is my realtor, which is knowing what I know about every salesperson, all that shit. I didn't use what was at hand, and I lost as a result of it. Now, again, rather than beat myself up, I'm gonna do this. Here's how I'm gonna raise myself as a result of that. It's not really a trauma. Now, I didn't like, because I had myself living there. Like, I had designed the floor plan of this house, like everything I was gonna do to it. I was ready to live there, like, indefinitely. I was all set. I'd gone and looked at it twice. I was ready to rock and roll. So inside, emotionally, yeah, it hurt. I didn't like it. It stung me because I had made some plans and they got ripped out from under my feet. And logically, I know I made a mistake with as far as what the numbers I made, the numbers that I offered. So what I chose to do is this: break it down into two pieces. There's the emotional component and there's the behavior. All right. And this is exactly when I talk about your heart and your mind. It's exactly what I'm talking about. The emotional contingent, the emotional piece of it, that's your heart, right? The logic, the actions, that's your mind. And you as a man are absolutely responsible for all of your actions. I don't give a shit what the emotions are that are behind them. From the outside, when I'm looking at you and whatever your actions are, I'm going to judge you essentially based on that. It's up to you to deal with those emotions inside. You need to stop. Make sure that whatever the emotional driver is behind whatever decision you're about to make doesn't make you make a bad decision. So I know I'm beating around the bush. I thought I'd be a lot more clear with this. Let me kind of get more to the point. So the roles of your heart and your mind are these. Your emotions, your heart, imagine that's like a little kid. Okay, that's the little kid inside you. Your logic, your forebrain, that's your adult, that's your parent. And they're both you, okay? They're both definitely you, but they are sometimes different forces. They're certainly associated, but they're could be pulling you in different directions, right? As far as what your actions are going to be and certainly the outcomes. So in this case for me, the emotional contingent was just thinking about how sweet it was going to be to have a paid-off house and how much fun it was going to be to remodel this fucker and lay it all out how I wanted it. I knew exactly where my pole barn was going to go. I knew how I was going to set up everything at this place. I had it all built in my head, and that's emotional, right? That's me getting excited about a thing. That's me like having positive emotions. So how do you deal with that now? So we've got a loss. We've had an emotional loss there. So as you raise yourself, you've got to use your mind to address those emotions. And I chose to basically, focus myself on my self-talk at that point. Okay, I know I've taken this emotional loss. Let me make sure, number one, damage control. Have I fucked anything up that I shouldn't fuck up as a result of these feelings I'm feeling? I know that I was a grumpy, down motherfucker the next morning. And I happened to have some buddies around. We were hanging out at my cabin, and I know I was not the best company. So that wasn't good. That was an external behavior that was a result of these emotions that I was feeling. And again, my buddies don't have anything to do with that purchase or that loss of that home, right? So why would they have to pay for that, right? And it's my cabin, so I kind of should be entertaining. And so I choose to control that damage by number one. I took a nap. I felt a lot better after that. It just cleared my head and I was good to go. And then I was a better host. As far as me addressing myself with the self-talk, I have to be able to do this. I got to be able to say, as far as addressing my emotions, I got to come with kindness. I got to bring some grace. I got to go and I got to repeat this over and over to myself every time I feel the emotions coming up about the disappointment of the loss of this house. I got to say, dude, it's the first offer you made. You haven't made an offer on anything else yet. And there probably will be something else that comes along that's better, different, whatever. Maybe it won't be quite as good. But now you know what it is to take that loss so you won't fuck it up the next time. You will do it. You will do it better. So there's no way you come out of this not better off regardless. So there's again, you taking your mind and addressing the situation, looking at how your emotions are fucking with you, And I knew that because I was grumpy and shit. Yep, that was from last night. So there's obviously some kind of damage in here. Let's address it. And as I was falling asleep for that nap, that's what I was telling myself. You know what, dude, it's going to be fine. We're going to be all right. We're going to put this together. We're going to regroup. We're going to be ready to pull the trigger on the next one. Let's make sure we're even more prepared. So I called my mortgage guy, and I'm like, hey, man, listen, if I find something that I can't pay cash for and it's a little bit more expensive, what are we going to do here? What are my options? You know, if I have to go out of the budget that I think I want to stick with. So he gave me some options. So now I'm more prepared. I got better tools. And I didn't beat myself up about it. I never, you stupid motherfucker, you should have known. What the fuck? Blah, blah, blah. I didn't do that, okay? I also know that, here's another external expression of that disappointment that I had, and it was with my realtor. You know, I mean, I ended up getting in her shit about some other thing. I'm not really. I just was like, what the fuck are you doing? Like about something different. And I realized that was just my disappointedness coming out, you know, and it really wasn't on her. She always hustles. She always does the best she can. But, you know, again, I saw those behaviors, and I knew that there must have been some damage in here. So I addressed it. Like I said, took the nap, did the self-talk, and that's the raising yourself piece, okay? That's exactly the same as, you know, you had this terrible trauma, something horrible that happened when you were a kid, and you go back and you use your adult mind to talk to the emotions that were associated with that. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be these huge, massive things, and then you never do it again. Like, I want to do it daily. You know, it's just a way to kind of really focus your self-talk, which is pretty fucking important, right? So I think that with dealing with the emotional part, show yourself a shit ton of kindness, okay? Shit ton. Grace. Hey, you know what? It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. Just like you would to a kid. That's how you should address your emotions. Now, I know that sounds soft and weak, but that is not the same as your actions, okay? Your actions, you should never give yourself grace for. You should never give yourself kindness about your actions. You should never forgive yourself for, I mean, that's a little bit too strong, but like I knew that I had caused a couple hours of the experience of my buddies who were up there just hanging out, you know, having fun. I knew I caused those to be not as good. And I did that as a result of some emotions I was feeling. And in my mind, that's unacceptable. I know it's going to happen, but I'm always dialing it to make sure that it won't. Now, I know that I had enough sense not to engage in any kind of, you know, inflammatory discourse during that time. I know that I didn't really light up my realtor. I just was frustrated about a thing, and I let her know about that, and we talked it out later, and it was fine. My buddies didn't give a shit. They're like, whatever, motherfucker, you're always an asshole. I mean, that's how you hang out with your friends, and that's totally fine. But with your actions, you need to be incredibly hard on yourself about that. And I don't mean after the fact, you're always beating yourself up about it. I mean, make sure that you know that those actions that come out of negative emotions they're not you, they're not okay, they're not to be repeated. It should be a constant struggle for you. Struggle is maybe the wrong word, but a discipline that you have where you always, when you're feeling strong emotions that are negative and you act on them, you do things that you wouldn't normally do as a result of these actions, you should always be firm with yourself about that. You should always be disciplined with yourself about that. You should always be aware of it for sure, and make sure that if anything happens as a result, you address it with anybody that it kind of spilled out on. You know, like I said, I told my friends and they were cool. I talked to my realtor, we're good there. So, you know, you see what I mean? Like, don't accept that in yourself. Don't ever accept that your negative emotions cause you to do stupid shit. Don't be the guy who gets angry and punches a hole in the wall. Don't be the guy who gets angry and is violent. Don't get, you know, violence should never have anything to do with anger. You know, if you're going to commit to violence, it should be about protecting someone. You know, yourself maybe, but mostly other people. And anger is just going to make you worse at it. You're going to be far less able to commit to violence successfully. Anyway, that's the raising yourself piece. Total accountability in your actions. Very firm with yourself about how you do it. But very kind with your emotions and very grace. You offer a lot of grace for how you feel. And that's just self-talk, right? Yeah, that's the raising yourself thing. I want to expand this out here. I had a conversation with a good close friend several years ago. I was going through a heartbreak, and we had this conversation about heart and mind, which I was still developing at the time. I mean, I'm always developing it, but what he said that it's the duty of your mind to protect your heart, like a parent would for a kid. That's why I keep going back to that thing. And he gave an example to illustrate it in this way. What he said was, if you find the situation I was in was, I'm with this girl, and it was obvious she wasn't all in, right? But I was all in, and I was trying to do whatever it took to keep her, which ironically, as you all should know, the more of that you do, the less she's going to be interested in you. When she starts to pull away, you walk. You know what I mean? That's what you do. Because if you chase them, they're going to run. That's human nature, right? So I was doing some of that chasing. I was kind of pushing, hanging on too tight, right? And he told me, he's like, this is the situation. You're watching your heart get beat up. You, in your head, in your mind, you could see this happening. It's happening, but your heart is so invested that it's almost overpowering your adult mind. So at some point here, you have to reach in there and grab your heart essentially by the hand and say, I'm not going to let you take any more abuse here. I know it sucks to walk away. I know it hurts, but we have to go. You can't just stay here and keep getting hurt over and over and over again. It's time to pull the plug, and I'm not going to let that continue to happen to you. And then you pull yourself out of it, and you recover, and you go through mourning, and then you're on your way out. That's how that looks. That's your mind protecting your heart, which I really thought was a great concept. I think about that all the time, and I think that's the ultimate kindness that you can offer to yourself, is to say, I won't let you continue to get injured. I will pull you out. Let's go. I've got you. You're going to be okay. I got you. That's that kindness piece that you offer, which I loved. I thought that was a great concept. It's still very much, and I think about it a lot. So the self-talk thing is huge. You really got to do it. You got to consciously think it. I mean, I'll sit in my sauna or in my hot tub, and I'll say the shit out loud. You know what I mean? I'll say that same self-talk out loud. I'm not going to let you get hurt here anymore. Let's go. I'm going to pull this out. I'm going to pull you out of here, and we're going to move forward. We're going to, get better. We're going to heal. Say it out loud. I mean, that will help you. It helps me for sure. Those words are massive. Your brain doesn't know any different. Here's those words. It's going to react to them in a positive way. Kind of in the same mode as the raising yourself. I keep catching this, these quotes that these guys will put on the different socials that I'm in, because I'm, trying to make a name and always trying to learn. Oh, I keep getting this question too. What's that orange shit that you drink? Why are you drinking that orange shit? It's actually carrot juice, and I mix some kind of fruit juice in there with it, because you just drink carrot juice, it tastes like dirt. But I'll put, like lately, I used to do apple juice, but most of that stuff has a lot of sugar in it. So I found this watermelon juice that I really like. So I just throw that in there, about 50-50, and I'm getting the benefits of the carrot and a little sweetness, and yeah, that's what this is. Carrot juice with some watermelon juice. It's really good shit. Anyway, these dudes on the socials talking about, I keep hearing this quote that self-discipline is the highest form of self-care. I'm going to disagree with that. I think they're really different, okay? Now that I've explained and illustrated the ideas of the heart and the mind, and how to raise yourself, and how to kind of reach in there and know the difference between the two, I can tell you this, that self-care has a lot more to do with your heart, okay? It has a lot more to do with your heart. That's self-care. Those positive affirmations, the hey, we're going to be okays, the hey, I know that this isn't going how you want it, but we'll get the next one. Those positive affirmations, that's self-care. All right? And people want to think self-care is going to the spa and getting massages and just taking all this downtime and eating chocolate cake and being indulging and stuff. And I suppose that could be like that, but not if you're not in it. If you're not in it in your head. Like, now I have a great massage lady. I just heard from her this weekend, actually, and I've been at her place, and we'll get to talking. She's working on me. We get to talking, and I'm talking about something that frustrates me or it's on my mind or whatever. And I get out of there and I'm no more relaxed than I was before because my head wasn't where it needed to be. And maybe you guys are different than I am, but, that's a thing I can control no matter what's going on around me for the most part. You know what I mean? I can engage in self-care here at my house, and it doesn't involve pounding down a bunch of simple sugars. And, for me, self-care is, I heard this guy talking about it today, actually. Being at home is the new vacation. I couldn't agree more. Like I was up north for like a week, and coming home was great. The heat runs on its own. I got plenty of water, comfortable couch. I'm going to sleep clean. I'm going to, it's just a different situation, but it's the mental part. I have fewer stresses. I have to pay a mortgage on this house, but it sure is easier to live here. Well, last night, I drove home yesterday, had a bunch of things here to do in my office. I got my taxes done, all this stuff. And then I was really looking forward to just sitting down on my couch for a couple hours. And there's a new series on Netflix called Reacher, and it's about these books that I've read that are really good. And I was excited as shit to watch this thing. So that's what I did. A couple hours last night, I just chilled. I surfed my phone a little. I'm watching the show. I'm just hanging out. That's self-care because I set it up in my mind as a thing that I was going to enjoy. And then I fucking enjoyed it. I made myself enjoy it. Like, not that it was hard, but, I didn't allow myself to get caught up in other shit, or, I did some damage to my car because I got stuck in a snowbank. I blocked that out of my head, and just chilled out and relaxed and recovered from a weekend of, being with my friends and being out of town and all of that stuff. And it was awesome. That's self-care. Self-discipline is a totally different thing than that. Self-discipline is taking shit away from yourself. You know what I mean? Like, it's not doing shit that you want to do because you know it's going to help you later. Or it's doing shit that you don't want to do because it's going to help you later. Like working out. That's self-discipline. I got to the gym today and banged out some heavy chests, and I ran 3 miles, and I did everything that I wanted to do today, and I feel great. Like, that's me getting myself back into my grind once I get home. You know what I mean? Like, first thing I did this morning, super excited about it. That's self-discipline. I made myself do a thing that's, it's uncomfortable, pushing those weights and running those miles, but I know it's going to be good for me later, and I'm back to eating a lot better. I go up north a lot of times. My friends want to go get pizza and stuff like that, and that's fine, and I go enjoy it, and it's great. But self-discipline, self-care, two very different things. I keep seeing guys say that, specifically other people who are in the masculinity kind of arena with me. I catch that quote, that self-discipline is the finest form of self-care. I think that you're confusing them. They're both good, no doubt about it. But I'm going to tell you, self-care has to do with how you treat yourself. And that's the words that you use and the feelings that you associate. And, when people say that happiness is the only measure, right? My only goal is to be happy, I'll tell you that. But it takes time. You got to work on it. You got to focus on it. It isn't shit from the outside. The spa doesn't make you happy by itself. The Corvette doesn't make you happy by itself. Because you'll just float back to your normal definition of normal. Eventually, you just have a Corvette in the garage. You don't really feel any different than before you had it. You know what I mean? At least for most people. See what I'm saying? Like, that external stuff, that's not really self-care. That's just, you're just buying shit. I've always thought of objects. And I like objects as much as anybody else. I have a fucking antique tractor, for Christ's sake. I got no reason to have that other than just emotional, sentimental shit. Yeah, the objects are just distractions. You find yourself buying a lot of shit, doing a lot of drinking, doing a lot of external things. Probably got something in your life that you're not super happy with, and those things are just distractions from it. That's what I think. Self-care isn't the things you do externally for yourself. It's what you do internally for yourself. It's what you do to, help yourself feel better. It's what you do to focus on the positives. It's what you do to find that silver lining. It's me going, hey, dude, you'll get the next house that you offer on because now you're better at it. And it probably will be better overall. You never know. Maybe I don't even know how good the next one's going to be. You never know. But that's it. That's raising yourself. You can do it every day when there's ups, when there's downs. We didn't talk about the ups too much, but usually it's downs. You deal with the negatives and make sure that you handle yourself correctly through those situations. My name is Travis Neville. I've written 2 books. One of them will be out pretty soon as I get that forward back. And I hope that some way today's show helps you to get your shit together. Have a great week.